I'm here with Orianna Bretschger, the founder and CEO of Aquacycle. And today we're going to be talking about uncommon paths and kind of diverse backgrounds to be able to get to be a business leader or a CEO. And I'm really excited to speak with you.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear first, just to get started, what does your business do?
So we do on-site wastewater treatment, dealing with really high-strength organic wastewaters that typically come out of food and beverage industries. So wastewater in a sewer is around 400 parts per million on carbon. Okay, the wastewater that we deal with is around 100,000 parts per million of carbon.
Wow.
And what we do is we will plug and play a system on a customer site. We'll treat their water. We'll remove anywhere from 90 to 99% of that carbon. And we recover energy as direct electricity in the process.
Wow.
So we're net neutral. So we can provide savings of anywhere from 30% up to 90% on what they're doing now for managing these wastewater streams. That's
incredible. That's great. So how did you get to where you are today? Did you always think you'd be running a business?
Nope.
Great.
Actually, I never thought I would be running a business.
Yeah.
I've always been into science and engineering. So from very early age, I was always inspired by the sciences. And that brought me to physics. I did my undergraduate degree in physics at Northern Arizona University. I went there because Flagstaff is where they discovered Pluto in 1913.
I did not know that. Fun fact.
It's still a planet to me. So that, I actually double majored in astronomy and physics.
Wow.
And was offered a job in aerospace after graduation. And so, well, this could be fun. I can continue on with my science, use my science degree.
Yeah.
So I worked for a while in aerospace, and I was designing missile systems for cruise missiles at Raytheon. But that wasn't where my soul really was.
Yeah.
It was a great experience, and I learned a tremendous amount. But at that point in time, I really wanted to do something that was inspiring to me. And it took me a little while to figure that out. And so I actually left science and engineering for a bit. And I waited tables and bartended for a couple of years while I figured out what it was that I really wanted to focus on next.
Great.
And that brought me to graduate school in Southern California. And I ended up being accepted into the PhD program at USC for material science. And it was there that I met my advisor, future advisor. And he was studying how bacteria have this capacity to breathe rocks in the environment. Wow. And I was like, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
How does that happen? And what happens is these bacteria naturally are driving geochemical cycles in the environment, and they attach themselves to a mineral, and they can actually move electrons to that mineral. And when they do that electron movement, that's what helps them respire. That's what facilitates a breath. And when you think about what breathing is for humans, right, our mitochondria store up electrons from us eating sugars. And the oxygen dissolved in our bloodstream permeates that mitochondria, grabs those electrons, and out goes CO2 and water. That's how we breathe. It's just a movement of electrons. Right? So these bacteria do that process, but they do it to a solid surface. So I was like, oh, that's amazing.
Wow.
I want to study this. And so I begged him to take me as a student in his lab after hearing a talk that he gave in my department. So I was in engineering, but I did 99% of my work in a biology lab.
Great.
Studying these processes. And when we first got into it, it was to understand environmental process. And at the time, the research field was very much focused on the energy recovery aspect of it. Bacteria making electricity, right? Waste to energy kind of concept. And that's all terrific. But when you think about a biological system, it's not going to give away 100% of its energy, right? So at best, you can get maybe 30% of its energy as direct electricity.
Okay.
But that means you're never going to be powering your home. It's never going to drive your car. It's really low energy density for the size of the system you would need. So I never looked at it as energy. I looked at it as we can use energy to control bacterial process. So just by how we move electrons away from the bacteria in our system, how fast we draw them away, we control how fast they breathe.
Okay.
Right? And when they're breathing fast, that means they're eating fast. and that's what drives treatment rate. So the more electricity we produce in our system means a faster treatment rate. And that's what brought us to where we are now, is just that idea of using an electrical system to control a biological process.
Wow.
So then, from USC...
So you were a researcher there, and okay,
yeah,
amazing.
Yeah. So that was my graduate work, was just studying how one microbe does this process, right? What are the genes and pathways involved? And then I was offered a job here in San Diego at the Venter Institute, which is a private, not-for-profit research institute in genomics. And until graduate school, I'd never taken a biology class.
Really?
I didn't tell anybody that. But
Amazing.
I had to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hired on into a genomics institute to keep researching this process, and then we started, trying to understand how big communities of organisms do this, and how they communicate electronically with each other and to the environment as a community of different organisms. So we applied a lot of metagenomic and metatranscriptomic methods to study this process. And as we're beginning to get to the fundamental science, we're also on the side developing a technology on how to control it. And so that tortured path brought me to AquaCycle, and we spun out that technology at the end of 2016.
Wow. Okay. So from, what did you say, astrophysics? What was the astrophysics?
Physics and astronomy.
To physics and astronomy to
wastewater.
To wastewater, right? That is quite the journey. That's amazing. Okay. What do you think are some of the skills that you learned along the way? And I imagine being a scientist is quite different than running a business.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the transferable skills, and what are some of the new things that you've had to learn?
So the transferable skills is, always communication. And I would say that is the connecting vein across everything that I've done, is how to communicate with a lot of different audiences. So whether you're writing a grant to a federal agency for money, or you're talking to a public audience trying to tell them what you're doing and why it's important, writing a technical paper to a very technical audience, right? All of these things require different forms and styles of communication. And so I've been very fortunate to work with people that have taught me, right, and instilled this skill set and the importance of the skill set. I'm still learning. But the communication is, transferable to anything you do. And when we hire in a team, we're hiring for communication ability, teamwork ability, and desire and passion to learn something new. We can teach you the skills, right? So that is one that transfers. What didn't transfer, or what I'm still learning, right, is a lot of moving away from talking about the technology and talking about the business opportunity. So what does the technology enable as a business? I spend 30 seconds talking about the product, and I'll spend the rest of my 19 minutes and 30 seconds talking about the market opportunity now.
Great.
And that was a big switch for me coming out of academia.
Yeah, and I imagine, especially as a scientist, the product is what you're so excited and passionate about.
Yes.
Got it. Well, that's definitely a skill that can be practiced and learned with time. Amazing. So what do you enjoy most about the work that you do?
Oh, I have to pick one thing?
You can give me a few.
Being an entrepreneur is a fun challenge, right? It's dynamic every day. So I'm switching gears all the time throughout the day, and I actually love that aspect of it, where I can tune my mind into different areas where I can be useful, right? So I enjoy that a lot. I am grateful every day as a researcher that I get to see something that started as a beaker experiment into a commercial product, and so I value that tremendously, because that's not something that always happens.
I could imagine that would actually be very satisfying as a scientist.
Very rewarding.
To see that actually out in the world.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah.
And it's super exciting to work with a team of people that are just as passionate as I am about what we're doing. And to see that team grow in their professional development, as well as, being able to engage in developing product and technology. So it's very cool.
That is very cool. What would you say to some people who would want to get involved in either whether it's the blue economy and maybe also speak a little bit to, somebody who might aspire to be a CEO.
Yeah. Well, there are so many diverse jobs in the blue economy, whether you're ocean focused, freshwater focused, technology focused, right? There's so many different things that you can do in the blue economy. And so really it's just dive in and start asking questions. Like what's inspiring to you? Do you like developing software apps? Do you like, hardware engineering? Are you more observational? Like what is it that you like to do, right? As an individual. And then, okay, you can apply that to pretty much anywhere in the blue economy. And it's just now, it's great to be a part of TMA BlueTech to start spreading awareness of all the different opportunities that are here in San Diego and in the BlueTech economy globally. So it's really now just a matter of connecting that passion to the economy. And so hopefully, TMA can grow and grow and grow and continue to do that along with the other clusters. In terms of being a CEO, I think the biggest thing that I learned in my first year was to trust myself. You get a lot of advice, and you have to choose what to listen to. And, as a first-time founder and as a first-time CEO and coming out of academic research, really not having the experience on starting a company, I really relied very heavily on my advisors. And thankfully, I've got great advisors. But ultimately, the decision is up to you.
Lies with you,
it's up to me. And so, taking that ownership was always fine in science, right? But now I'm making decisions that are different than which experiment do we run, right? So I would say that just it's not an easy transition to go from science to business, but it's possible. And being able to leverage the network that we've built here in San Diego, advisors, investors, other founders and entrepreneurs in this ecosystem has been amazing. So that has helped tremendously. So it's possible. Never something I thought I would do, which means anybody can. You just, you have to be driven and inspired to continue because it is a hard road.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.